Good evening, folks. Welcome to Soldering and Chatting and Q&A with Javi, episode number 22. Um, Tonight, I'm going to be testing some JaviBoxes and cleaning up a little. It's going to be a fairly short segment. Not too much soldering involved today. Well, never say never, but that's usually how it starts. I don't mind telling you guys, I'm a little bit tired today. I'll probably mention this again later when more people come in, but I was tiling the kitchen and I am beat. But nice and refreshing. Nice little relaxation here. Hello, Troy. Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a little of this and a little of that today. Let's see if I get some. Let's see if I get some of this stuff organized. Dave, how are you? Good to see you. What kind of tile did I put down? I put some. Well, that'll bring up a nice story. That question, Paul. A number of years back, we had on the when we originally bought the house in '99. This house in '99, it came with Chattahoochee. I don't know if you guys are. Yeah, obviously you know what Chattahoochee is. Polished little rocks and polished concrete. That thing. So no, that's not Chattahoochee. That's whatever the heck that's called. Chattahoochee is the other stuff. Is the stuff for outdoors. Uh, um, what do they call that? The polished. The stones, and then inside. Oh God, my mind went blank. Anyway, terrazzo. There you go, terrazzo. So I had the whole floor of terrazzo. The living room floor was. You're gonna love this. The original owners, who this house was made in 1970, and the original owners, they were the first owners and the only ones prior to us. They kept it pristine. An old couple. They were 80 plus, so they must have moved in their 60s. And well, anyway, it was the sculptured carpet in the living room. I mean, the sculptured stuff that you saw back in the 70s that people would line on walls of vans, that kind of stuff. The not Berber or anything that new, but the actual sculptured carpet. Two different levels. Pretty cool. So, hoochie coochie. Good, Dave. So, what happens? A couple years go by, and I thought to myself, that my wife doesn't like dust or anything like that. She's not a fan of carpets. So I decide, well, let's go ahead and see if I can find some wood, and I'll put I'll tile the floor with natural wood. I went over, and the Home Depot had one heck of a deal. Heck of a deal. The Home Depot had somebody had ordered some red oak flooring, and it was tons of red oak flooring. And I got it for like 75 cents a square foot, because it was $7 or $8 a square foot, red oak, and they rejected it, and it was enough to do the kitchen and foyer, whatever, and the hallway. I ended up going to, of all places, a place that made doors, and they had all this extra southern mahogany. So I went through the trouble of planing, tongue and grooving, and and sanding, finishing, staining, and then polyurethaning the mahogany, and that was fantastic up until about 5 years ago. It was real, solid wood floor. Who could ask for more? And I thought to myself, look, I'm getting on in years. About 5 years ago, I was about 50, and I thought to myself, look, it's about time that I that either I resurface this floor or I put in a new floor. Um, there was a leak while I was away. Some of you may or may not have seen my um, one of the episodes of the on my show where I what were they called? The RV episode, RV mods number, I don't know, 4, whatever. When I went to the Keys. Well, after I got home from the Keys, that was a horrible incident in the Keys anyway, with the AC and everything. After I got home to a flooded floor because the AC clogged up, leaked, and there was quite a lot of water underneath. And there was a section of the wood floor that was just so waterlogged. I didn't want to take a chance, and I decided, it's about time. So, nice long story from that simple question. I put in a ceramic. Back then, 5 years ago, I put in a ceramic wood looking tile. Um, that thing's been fantastic. It's still like the day I put it in. I for about somewhere in the $1,000 range, just under $1,000. Okay, 1150 if you count all the thin set, but for $1,000 of tile, under $1,000, I tiled 4 rooms and the foyer and the hallway. So I mean that was a good. I mean I got it for like 79 cents a square foot. It was something ridiculous, or less than that, 69. Chinese tile, uh, 900 by 1600 millimeters, something like that. And I'm very happy with it. Now the only problem is, to match it, forget it. It has kind of an orange tint. I had 9 boxes left over. And I've been storing them like a pack rat that I am for the longest time. Well, I finally got around to see the kitchen had not been done yet, and it was still the original wood floor. Well, you know what happens with kitchen and wood floors, especially if you are not meticulous about taking care of them. And I treat my tool like a tool, not like a prized possession. So, sure enough, I treat my floor like a floor, and I walk on it. And uh, parts of it were wearing, and parts of it were a little darkened from water, and it was time. And I decided, well, it's about 120 square feet, the kitchen, that I needed to tile, and I got a lot of cabinets, in place, about 120 square feet, and then I had 90. So I bought 4 boxes of brown tile because I couldn't find that orange shade anywhere. It was very natural looking, but it was. So, bottom line, that's what I did today. The second day of tiling, because the first, you got to do it in steps because it's the kitchen. You can't be, you know. I put the refrigerator back today, and the oven range, and then I tiled the next area. Now there's another area that goes to the pantry, so I could only tile half that passageway, so people can walk on the non-tiled part. Tomorrow they'll walk on the tiled part, and I'll do the non-tiled part, and then the next day I grout. So I'm looking forward to the next couple days. I am and I'm not. I mean, I love doing all this stuff, but I hate bending down. So there's that. And good evening, all that have popped in. Dave, Clyde. Let's see who else popped in. I saw Troy before. So that's, oh, excuse me. And of course, Paul. That's, of course, the story. It's a wood looking tile. And let me see if I can show you guys a picture of it. You might enjoy it. You might. You might not. So this, give me a sec here. Share screen. So this is as far as I've gotten so far. You'll notice I've got the by the way, this little box here is holding my my homemade tile squares. Hey Marcello, how's it going? And oh, Dave, how could you make an Amazon purchase without me? Well, don't worry, I'll be doing my share of that. So back here, this brown stuff, that's this same tile. That's where the oven goes. The fridge, underneath the fridge, it's more of this tile. And I had just enough of this type. Again, this is the tile that I purchased from the it's actually two different tiles. They're very, very close. But as you notice, this one with a little bit more grain and this one with finer grain, they're two different sections of tile. All in all, I had 9 boxes, but well, anyway, it is what it is. So that little section is all I got left for tomorrow, thank goodness. And then I grout everything. Right here where you see this brown tile, there's a 4 foot by 4 foot table that I made up. And that's kind of why that little area looks different. My daughter said, "Hey, why don't we put the brown tile, because we're trying to think of a pattern." Because I didn't want to just put one brown tile and then a bunch of these and then another brown tile, a random one anywhere. So I did that. This white stuff you see, that's just thin set on there and on there. I've actually finished everything except that little square piece, and that'll be a piece of cake to knock out tomorrow. So well, that's my day. And now I was doing some tests on these boxes, and that I'm about to start shipping out. And one of them was running the motors backwards. I forgot which one. That's why I'm going to test all of them. But it's a simple fix. But I always want to make sure that all my boxes turn the same way. It again, anybody that gets one of these JaviBox controllers, if their motors are spinning backwards, or if they don't have their motors in the back and on the right for the X, like I do, they have them in the front for some ungodly reason, or on the left side for the X. Well, it's a simple matter of clicking one setting in Mach 3, and all this will be made clear. But all right, so here we go. I have this one all set up here. Let me see here. How far does this? No, you can't. You guys can't see it, but and I'm not going to go up there and move my camera. So suffice to say, this one's moving in the right direction. X. Correct. Y. Correct. And A. Correct. Now, last but not least, and I did this like 3 times already, so it's not going to be any surprise that it works, but I just want to do it anyway. I want to let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at the diagnostic screen on my little computer here, and everything's running perfectly fine here. And so I'll let you guys enjoy the lights as I test them here. So let's see what we got here. And you'll notice the fan light is on there. That's a blue fan. Okay, so yeah, and I got to organize this place because it's just getting to the point that I can't even work anymore. And I've got to get another couple boxes out. M3. Good. M4. Good. Believe it or not, I'm actually looking at it on my screen since, M5 turns it off. M7, that one. M8, that one. M9 shuts those two off. Okay, so just to check the voltage, M3. Good. All right. So this one is good. When I'm sure that a box is good and everything checks out, I always test it after I screw it together. And then once I make sure that it's tested, that's when I put my wonderful little void stickers on it because, we don't want to put them on before. That makes no sense whatsoever. Yep, Dave, yours has been shipped. Yours now, Dave, just so you know, I'm missing your probe. I'll be sending you that in a small padded envelope because I don't get the probes until Wednesday. So that's the only thing that we're behind on. Everything else, you're good to go. Your motors and such. So happy day, as it were. Happy day. I hate it when that happens. The nice thing about these tamper evident labels is that, well, they're tamper evident. If you peel them off, you could tell that somebody's peeled them off. Not that it matters. I trust everybody, but still. But the problem is you can't take them and put them with your finger because then they peel off on your finger. They're that sensitive. And they should sell an applicator for this thing. Yeah, Dave. Sometime, Dave Clemens, Big D. Sometime later tonight, I'll send you the shipping information. I have that in the office, so. There we go. So there it is, folks. Another one down the pike. All right. Now let's check this one because I believe this is the one that was backwards. So we're going to have to make some minor adjustments. Okay. Power plug. Yeah, I have to make a video because there's a lot of things that I got to tell people about. For instance, if something goes wrong and they blow a fuse, there is a fuse on this thing. It's right in the front, but most people may not realize it because it's in it's in between the switch and the plug of the power cord assembly. So, okay, so let's see what we got here. Wrong way. Okay. Let's take this one apart. We don't have to do much, really. Alrighty. We just swap black and green in this case, and that's it. Status on your motors and wiring, Dennis. They were actually motors and wiring were shipped today. So I will be sending you a little later the information. So you're good to go as well. Yeah, in between after I grouted today, or while I was grouting, whatever. I mean, not while, obviously, in between, while I was waiting for one section to dry and finished one bucket and was about to start it. No, I'm not going to about to start another one when I'm about a half an hour away from lunch. So I figure, hey, perfect timing. Went to the post office, dropped all the stuff off, and I'll get you those tracking numbers so you'll see your. Well, not that you could see anything with the post office. You know, I kind of wish with the technology we have today, it sure would be nice. I mean, I know some places do it, and Amazon does it sometimes. To have a blow by blow report of where the item is, and I mean, it would be really cool to see exactly where it is. But of course, you can't do that because security reasons. Somebody else gets a hold of your tracking information and they know what you bought, then they could always track exactly where it is. Unscrupulous people. So I do see why they don't do that. But around here, they were doing it for a while. I guess somebody complained. You could also swap the red and the blue. That is an alternative, Clyde. Black and green or red and blue. So just so you guys know, folks, the same effect will happen if you swap the positive and negative on one pole, positive and negative on the other pole, or if you swap both of them from one to another. Because what happens is, in some cases, if you swap them, this way you're certain. Only one, because if you swap both, then you're back to where you started. And I'm not going to get into the details for those of you who who don't know how a stepper motor works in half steps, it's basically it's coil 1, coil 2, coil 1 reversed, coil 2 reversed. Coil 1 the right way, coil 2, coil 1 reverse, coil 2 reverse. And these are the steps. I'm really making it far too simpler than it is. But so what happens if you switch two of these? Now it's going to go this way instead of that way. So it will reverse direction. That's one way. Another way is swap the coils, because then now instead of coil 1, coil 2, it's coil 2, coil 1, because they're reversed. Anyway. Righty. Guess what? On this one, I am switching red and blue, because this is the Z. It's wired a little differently. Yes, Dennis, the probe later. That's what I meant to tell. Yeah, Dave has got his. Everything's all a blur, but yes, the probe will come in a separate envelope, because they were supposed to arrive last week, but you know how it is, best laid plans of mice and men. They are arriving on Wednesday, unless I could possibly find one in my stuff, because there's always that possibility. But I do have 3 orders going out at the same time, so I pretty much used up all my probes. We'll see. Liquid soap was drying and cracking your hands. The spindle controller. I don't remember whether the spindle controller. Yeah, the spindle controller went with it as well. Okay. Let us check. That's so pretty. Blue lights, red lights. I get whatever motors I can. I used to give people the choice of motors, but it was pointless, because most everybody chose anything I want. You pick. They don't care. And the 2 or 3 that did care took forever to answer, so it was just delaying things. So I just put, you might get red, you might get green, you might get no color, you might get blue, you might get white. And on the inside, it's basically whichever one happens to be cheaper that week on Amazon, because there are 2 brands that I trust of brushless motors. One brand is lighted, one is not. Some weeks one is cheaper, some weeks the other one is. So makes little difference. Very, very little difference. Okay. X is working perfectly, sounding fine. I always listen to the sound, because there it is. Yeah. There is a specific sound that I listen for that almost sounds like it's working but I know when that sound is there, one wire's off. And I don't mean in the wrong place. I mean like disconnected or bad solder or which is rare or happens to everyone. Or in some cases, it's happened where wires come loose from a terminal. It happens more often than you think. Z is incorrect. Okay. Figures. That's the one I swapped the red and blue on. I didn't need to swap any of them. Well. Hey, Matt. Good to see you. Good to see you. Very happy you're here. And I am looking forward, Matt, to seeing you in your with your Gatton running, and try to get that thing running for the Christmas challenge. That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that thing produce a particular something or other. Yeah, and for those of you that purchased JaviBoxes, I personally would consider it a favor, and I'd appreciate it if you took some video, took some pictures, put them on the Gatton website or wherever. Just put them out there and let me know where you put them. A video of you making something, highlighting the box, because honestly, I one person so far has sent me just the thing moving, and it was nice, but I would love to actually see, the whole reason I'm in this, to get you guys up and running, and we're good to go. So this one is solid. Let me double check, of course, all of them after I seal the cover, because hasn't happened yet, but sometimes you seal the cover and it moves a wire or whatever, but once it's sealed, it ain't going nowhere. I look forward to it, Clyde. Look forward to seeing yours, but then again, you don't have a hobby box, so while it'd be fun to see your videos, I want to see one of my babies working out there, because I could make videos of the hobby box all day long, but it doesn't say half as much as when one of you guys do it. And here we go. Let's see. Where's that wonderful box? My little test box. Red, green connector, and blue connector. Okay. Number 1, E-stop. Number 2, limit switches. Number 3, probe. Number 4, sweet. Unmarked as of yet, but soon. Let me see what we got here. By the way, for you guys, I will be selling fairly soon. Well, I'll be making videos, so anyone that doesn't have a hobby box can also purchase a manual spindle controller, like some of you have already, because that you don't need the box for my controller for the manual spindle controller to control a remotely your VFD, your spindle, and I'll also be I'm working on it in the next 2 weeks. I will have them in mass. I'm working on a little crosshairs laser that you attach to a Gatton or practically any CNC, where It'll come with the program, with the script and everything, so you can. Some of you have heard me talk about it. You could just click a button. XY is on, and then in Mach 3, you click the button, it turns the laser on. Laser on, and then laser X0Y0 would be the second button, and that would turn the laser off and move the zero and zero exactly where the crosshairs are, and zero X and Y. It's a handy dandy box. And similarly, the router controller, I will be selling them. I could have them wired or unwired. You could just cut the connector off. Basically, it's for certain controllers, and actually, I'm testing them on regular bobs soon, because there's a very good likelihood that they work perfectly fine on bobs. So you guys can, if you want to remote control your spindle and you don't have a hobby box, you can buy one of these and it'll take care of that task. Okay, so I got the inputs. Let me get the outputs. M3, good. Power, perfect. M4, good. M7, good. M8, good. M9 is off. And this one is signed, sealed, and delivered. Dennis, the router box, yeah, the router box controller works fantastic. Refresh my memory. My mind is blank. Yeah, you already got that one, right? I'm like really out of it today. I don't know what people have bought, what's in the mail. This is why I need videos. All right. And last but not least, all right, folks, 2 down, 1 to go. And then tomorrow, I shall be spending the day, aside from tiling, I'm going to be cutting more hobby boxes, because I'm all out of the box. Might actually take a little trip to the wood store and buy myself some more wood. Wood. I like wood. Wood is a wonderful thing. It's not a 4-letter word, even though it's a 4-letter word. Which orders did I complete tonight? Tonight I completed today total I've completed orders number 22, 23, 24, PP005, PP006, I believe. Yes. And I have yours is one of these, William. But I have to wire the motors and all that stuff, so that'll take a little bit as well. So I expect It'll be ready in, well, for those of you that I don't know if you know or not, but if you go to Javi.com, there's a build status. Have a good one, Clyde. There's a build status, and I usually update that every day or every couple days. So Javi.com, in the store, it'll say the status, or you can just go to Javi.com/update. And look for your order number. And if you paid through PayPal, it's one of the PPOO numbers. All the PayPal orders have been completed and shipped, so that I could tell you. Look for your order number, your customer number, and that'll give you a rough approximation. I'm usually at most 1 or 2 days from that. Most of the time I'm early, but there have been instances where I've been waiting for a part, like the probe. I expected it last week, and I'm going to have to ship I shipped all the other stuff without the probe. So, yep, sweet. Yep, you're very lucky, William. I'm already on a roll and all caught up. The first orders that came out were on Valentine's Day. Some of those orders did not arrive until 1 or 2 of them May 4th, if you can believe that. Because there were some issues with some motors. I got swamped, and I got, the initial orders that I received. It was like, 16 orders at once, and Stepper Online was out of stepper motors, stepper drivers. I got some other sources for them, but they were all out. And then with the COVID, it's still, it's not a 2-day thing like it used to be. It's more of a 1 to 2 week thing. So, well, you know how it is. You guys have seen the Amazon thing. So anyway, let's see. Let's continue with this one, and grab my X and reset. Correct. Let me let me go ahead and move and share with you guys what I'm seeing here. Hang on. So you guys can also enjoy the give me a second. All right, so what a mess. I got stuff everywhere, and it's about to be cleaned up as soon as I finish this box. But anyway, so there we go. So left, right. Now we'll do the Y. Always turn off your machine before you unplug or plug in anything. Luckily, there's the Y left, Y right. Okay. I have it on the X axis, but I plug it into the Y. X and Y should behave exactly the same. X left should go left. X right should go right. Y down is away from the motor, just like X would be away from the motor would be the left, Y down is the same key. So Y down should be the same as left. Well, it just so happens down and left are right next to each other. So I know that down, left, and if I connect it to the Z, Z up is see away from the because it's let me see sorry, Z. I'll tell you in a second what it is. I just toward me is away from the motor. So Z down would be away from the motor. Whatever. It's oh no. Sorry. It would be reversed because of the way it's configured in Mach 3. Don't ask, but they're all configured identical, so there's me and away. And here we go with the Z toward me. Slower, of course, because you don't want to drive this thing. You could go faster if you want. I mean, I could turn the speed up, but I'd rather not. There's no reason to. You're never going to go 150 inches per minute on the Z. So I don't. All right, so I can disconnect my motors. And let me see what I got here as far as... Yeah. Good night, Troy. Ah, sweet. You got your anti-backlash kit. Well, William, I'm endeavoring to get this out to you as soon as possible. And just want to verify one thing here. Okay. Be right back, folks. Let me go out for a second, grab a screwdriver bit, and readjust the camera. Alrighty. I gotta open that up, see what that's missing. All right, let's start doing a little bit of organizing here, because I need it. So this will be organizing and Q&A with Javi. All right. start clearing the table from. Yes. I haven't put the things on this one yet. So guys, I don't mind telling you, I cannot wait until next month when I put together my, or start to put together, we'll see how far I get, my arcade cabinet. I want to put a nice little arcade cabinet together. I'm also going to hopefully be looking into, I might get a trencher, a Harbor Freight trencher. We don't know yet, but if the price is right, because I was looking at the price, it's pretty steep, but it's cheap compared to everything else. And but it doesn't include I was looking, it doesn't include the bucket. So the bucket's an extra $250. Then there's shipping, and then there's a lift gate. I mean, it's more than the original amount that's advertised. So, okay. We got ourselves some plugs here. Let's put them someplace. There's a good place. These are for 4-pin plugs. I brought a bunch of wired cables from the property because I've been let's see. Yep. Did you pay for the plans, or were they free plans, William? Out of curiosity, it was I got a set of plans that I'm pretty happy with. I'm customizing it myself because here's what I want to do. Maybe you might want to do something similar. I do want to do the full stand-up model. However, boy, do I got a lot of spindle cables to make. Maybe I'll do that Wednesday. Maybe. Okay, good. They were free. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'll take a look at them because I found some also some plans, and I'm quite happy with them. But what I'm going to do is I'm creating the frame, and then I'm creating a desktop unit that I could just set here and play whatever I want, monitor, desktop, and the desktop basically slides in, and with a couple of pins, it's the full-size arcade cabinet. Now I got vinyl cutters and vinyl printers and all that fancy stuff, so I could make it look as fancy as I want, But there's that whole time thing that gets in the way, How much time are you going to spend on it, Okay, garbage. Oh, that's a tabletop version? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I want to make something. Basically, it's going to be a larger than average tabletop version because it's going to have the table. It's going to have the monitor. It's going to have the controls. But when I say it's going to have the controls, I say I already have the controls. Here's the red buttons, blue buttons, the joystick balls here, and here I got the coin and all that stuff. So I've got all that stuff. And when I say, put this here. Oh. Somebody. Looking at some business information I have to get here. That can wait. Sorry, folks. Just having a. Always get the annoying emails at the most improper of times. Okay. So. Where is my tools box? There's my tools box. Well, you can make yourself, William. You can make yourself a drag knife for the CNC, and possibly cut vinyl that way. Also, the Cricut is a pretty darn inexpensive and very useful tool. I mean, I've got 2 full-blown vinyl cutters because, well, I owned a sign shop for a number of years, so that's I've got all the bells and whistles, as it were, going on 20, 30 years now. So every time, it's a good and a bad thing. I'll say it's good and bad. I mean, it's good because, well, I've got the experience of 2, 3 decades of signage and CNC under my belt. The bad thing is, and I don't mean this to sound arrogant or anything, but very few things impress me. Everybody goes, "Oh, I did this on my laser, and I did this on my..." Yeah, okay, that's nice. I did that for 12 years commercially, so yay! I like the creativity, and I appreciate I appreciate the creativity, and that's what I always, admire and acknowledge. But if somebody tells me, "I just got a new 100-watt laser that does this and this and this," yeah, That's nice. Did it before. I just got a new 3D printer that does this, this, and this. That's nice. Did it before. I just cut plexiglass. I've been cutting plexiglass for God knows how long. So I don't want to take the joy out of it for anybody else. But and I'm sure Dave, to a certain degree, feels the same way about some CNC projects. I love CNC. I've been doing it for 30 years. I still enjoy it. I still like looking at the machine from time to time. But Dave Gatton, myself, and a few others have been doing it for so many years commercially also that nothing is new. It's new to you guys if you're new to CNC, and that's what we enjoy. We enjoy looking at like a father looks at his kid for a new thing. We enjoy when some things. Some other things it's like they frustrate the heck out of me. Like, what feeds and speeds do you use? I hate that question. I really hate that question. And I'll tell you why. Let me explain myself. I can't just say I just hate the question. Here's the reason why I hate the question. Everybody has a different CNC. Everybody has a different material. Everybody has a different bit. Everybody has a different router. Most people have a different controller. Most people have a different size Gatton. There's no such thing as one feed and one speed fits all. So every time that question comes up, you will see, you won't see it publicly. Well, sometimes you will, but Mark or Dave or myself or many of us that have been around for a while, we'll do one of these roll our eyes or shake our head things on the inside because it's like, oh, not this again. But we were there once. I remember the first time I got my first CNC. My first question was, what feeds and speeds should I use? Because I wanted a stepping stone. I wanted something to start off with. Relays. 24-volt relays. Right here. And in the end, the best advice given to me is the advice that I continue to share to this day. Create a test program, whether you do flutes or ramps or fast cuts or slow cuts. I created a bunch of lines and S shapes, and I did different speeds from 10 to 300 inches per minute or 250 inches per minute. And I saw that, well, past 120, for certain materials, it would rip. Certain other materials, it was fine. Past below past 120 inches per minute, below 30 or 40 inches per minute, some material would burn. Some material needed that speed. So, like I said, it's all different. More relays. It's all different. They're all, lights. Here they are for the. Just made it. Stepper drivers. More stepper drivers. We'll set them there for now. And William, one thing I will say, when I first got started in signage, that's one of the most important lessons I learned uh, as far as vinyl cutting. Originally, I had a 15-inch vinyl cutter. I moved up to a 30-inch. Never needed more than a 30-inch. Some people had 60-inch vinyl cutters. I never needed more than a 30-inch for vinyl. Then I did get a big plotter cutter for it's also for vinyl, but it's for the solvent based stuff. But for one color vinyl, like yeah, this one's brown. I got. I'm telling you, rolls of all different color vinyl here. So for one color vinyl, like Oracal or Oramask or all whatever you want, uh, the size doesn't matter. And I say that because I used to do entire trucks, entire buildings, storefronts with my little 15-inch machine. It's all about if you're doing, obviously in my case, I'm doing a logo or words, everything is under 15 inches, perfect. But if it's over, what you do is you basically, I mean, most of these programs, the professional ones anyways have them, but you can easily do it yourself, is overlap a 1/4 inch. And so cut the two pieces, the left side, the right side, or 4/4 or whatever, and and the way to, I don't know if you're familiar with techniques for applying the vinyl, but the way you do it professionally is basically I used to have a 12-inch. I got some somewhere around there. 12-inch roll of masking tape or a mask, but different. It's actually R tape is the brand. But anyway, 12 inches. It's basically a big fat roll of masking tape. You could use a lot of little layers of regular masking tape. Well, first thing you do is make the cuts, then weed out everything that's not what you want, then mask the whole thing off, making sure you have a line, a parallel line, or some type of mark. You cut right on that parallel line. Let's say it's on the top. And then you use a piece of blue painter's tape or a masking tape as a hinge. So you're basically, let's say this is your, you cut the material, you mask it, then you cut it. So now basically you have masking tape, vinyl, and paper backing all in one piece. You cut it, you put a piece of tape, you align it. I usually use two little pieces of tape where I could move it exactly where I want it. I mean, I'm talking about the side of a van, but or the side of a window, but I'll put it. Once I have it exactly where I want it, I will tape a blue 2-inch strip tape right across the top, and now it's a hinge. So I pull it up, pull off the backing, and slowly squeegee it down. Okay, so now you have the backing off of it. You have the masking tape on top and the vinyl underneath it already stuck to the glass or whatever. Peel off very carefully the masking tape, which is less adhesive than the vinyl adhesive, and that's what it's meant to be like. And that's the simple explanation of how you mask stuff. And again, you put one section down first, and now you cut right to the edge on the next one, and you position it so it's perfectly aligned. Hinge it, and then and you will not see any, you will barely see any lines. It'll look like all one piece, and that, as they say, is that. Okay. Well, folks, it's 9:09. I'll give it a few more minutes. I'm just doing a little bit more cleanup here. Vinyl, cutting with vinyl and working with vinyl is fun, but it is extremely labor intensive. Extremely. Not as much as when I used to do car wraps. Those are it's. I practiced on two or three before I got my first one right. I learned pretty quickly, and but I tell you, it's an art form. I used to do them all the time, and I got real good at it. But it's something that you need practice in. Heat gun and you know a lot of people say, "Oh, spray the soap." No, you don't do that in the commercial industry. You don't spray soap on the adhesion because then that actually takes away from the adhesion and it voids the manufacturer warranty. Now that depends on what type of business you're running and how much of a warranty you're giving the customer. But in the end, you know, I don't like to do crappy quality stuff. So, okay, do I ever need to see to deviate in a size larger than the plans? Okay, that's a good question. And um, I will say this. If you plan to put a 4 foot, if you ever plan to put a 4 foot wide board in there, and I don't see you doing that. I mean, you know, like if you want to put a huge um, 4x8 sheet tiled or whatever, then you will need to enlarge the sides because his plans call for a 4 foot by 4 foot table. And now this is a, well, let's just say if you have a 4 foot by 4 foot table, that means that from rail to rail, it's 4 feet. That won't go all the way to the rail. It'll go, say, about 3 inches less on either side. So you're going to need an extra 6 inches. If you plan to do any clamping, then give it another couple inches for clamping, or maybe use those 3 inches wisely. If you don't plan on doing stuff anywhere near that big, build it smaller if you can. Also, the length, remember, with this machine, and I'm pointing to it back here, with this machine, all the way back, you have the uprights and you have the Xbox, the Z box, and the thing. By the time you get to the router bit, when it's pushed all the way back, you're losing about 13 and a half, 13 3/4 inches. So from the very, very back of the machine, you're going to lose 14 inches, let's say. So instead of 48 by 48, you're going to have a cutting area of about 34 on the Y by 42 to 44, roughly, on the probably 42 on the X. If that is sufficient for you, and it's more than sufficient for most people, then do not deviate from the plans. You know, people like to build them bigger and they go, oh, the lead screws are 6 foot, so let me go the whole length of the lead screw. Yeah, well, then you have a bench that you can't reach the middle. Because honestly, if like this bench here, I'm not showing you the whole thing, but I'm looking at a bench that's 7 feet across. Mine is. Long story. It's a little bit longer, and I have a little 6-inch extension, but it's 7 feet across, and about 6 feet deep. It's up against the wall, which means if I ever have a part that I have to clamp down in the center, over there in the center, I can't reach it. I can't reach with the with these with the lead screws, because the lead screws are on the side another 2 inches. Then I got my gut, and then I'm leaning over, I'm looking at probably 2 feet. 2 feet of workspace. Maybe 2.5 to 3 feet I can lean, but 2 feet of workspace. So I got 2 feet from this side, maybe 2.5 from the front, and 2 feet from that side. If you build it wider than 4 feet, you'll never reach the middle and the back. You may not need to. In my case, it's a little different. I tilt it sideways, and I could, at chest level, I've got the entire workpiece. But that's a whole different design that I did with my vertical CNC. And it doesn't work very well in the vertical because it wasn't designed to. So, but the short answer to your question, if you don't have a piece bigger than 34 by 42 on a regular basis, don't build it bigger. If anything, if you can, build it smaller, because 4x4 is you're taking away 4 foot by 4 foot and an extra 3 feet all the way around on 4 sides. Let's say, if you want to do it right, you want to have access to all sides, at very least 3 sides. So you're looking at 7 feet by 10. That's a whole room. 10 by 10 for a 4 foot by 4 foot. You're looking at a 10 by 10 area that it's going to occupy. A lot of space. Keep that in mind when you build your CNC. Make sure you have the room. And I mean, like, I have my other room in there. It's, you can't tell, but my office, when I'm in my office one of these days, I don't know if you've ever seen me in the office with the Cam Master behind me, but it's a 2 foot by 4 foot area workspace, and the enclosure that I built is 4 foot by 5 foot of a footprint. So it's 20 square feet it occupies. So I'm just saying, it's a lot to think about. A lot to think about. Mostly common sense, but you gotta be aware of it for it to be common sense. Common sense to anybody that's built one, really. It's not common sense to everybody. A lot of people that have, I will say this, I don't know of anybody who has said, boy, I wish I would have built my machine bigger. I don't. I know of a few people that say, oh, if I would have known, I would have built my machine smaller. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, I have... There we go. Soldering iron stays in place. Okay. Somewhere over here, I gotta start unloading rearranging my little boxes here of stuff that I got in the mail. Parts and such. All right. Couple more power supplies. Let's see, what are we? 9:19. I'll give it another 10 minutes before I shut her down. Power supply and power supply. Always good to have a few extra of those. Fans. And fans. Let's see, where would I recommend? Okay. That's a very good question. What I would do, see, that I mean, obviously that is a personal issue. Now I have it depends on your space. There's a lot of people that like to put it underneath in the front of the table. Well, that's great but then the wires are sticking out the front and it's far away from the motors and such. Yeah, you got your switch right there, but you don't need to see anything once you turn it on. So my advice would be, personally, I'm building a little shelf here on the wall next to my Colossus for mine, and I'm going to mount my Javi box right next to it. So because I'm going to be walking all around the side of it here and up against the wall, the Gatton doesn't go all the way back. There's plenty of space. Or rather, I'm never going to be all the way up against the wall because there's this much space from the wall to the front of the for me to the front of the gantry. So what am I going to do? Reach across the upright of the gantry to get to my piece? No, I'm going to be step over. I'm going to be in front of it. So all this area here, which the gantry would be here, the gantry all the way back, there's a space right on the wall. That's where I'm putting mine. Different people put it in different places. And you have to, one thing you want to take into account is your computer's got to be very close to it, because you don't want a very long USB cable. That will really mess things up. Data wise, that's where it could get problematic. So you want the computer close to the Javi box. I mean, I've got this little puppy. See, it's like a 10-inch laptop. It's a very old one. It sits right on top of the Javi box. So I mean, I built a little shelf for my Javi box and I put it on there, and boom, the Javi box comes with right here. There are two 6mm inserts, and on the other side, and it includes brackets. I include brackets and 4 nylon screws for the 6mm screws. So all you got to do is just find whatever type of screws or bolts to fit the brackets into the bottom of your thing, or if you're going to build a shelf to come out, just screw it onto the bottom of the shelf, or just lay it on top of the shelf, whatever is convenient for you. I just try to make it easy for people that want to put it underneath. Obviously, you're not going to put it on top of the thing. For me, in front is ridiculous because well, I have no space. I'm this right now. Right here is my desk, and right here is the front of the Gatton. I basically barely fit through here. I have to squeeze in sideways until I get my new shop in the new place and the new move and all that stuff. But then again, mine goes up against the wall and a 7 square foot footprint. So it's a unique situation. Of course, when I'm working on JaviBoxes, it's my workbench. So my advice would be, if you have space on the X side of the table, on the where the X motor is, if you have space there, that would be the ideal place. If your box is in the middle of the room, I mean, if your Gatton's in the middle of the room, that's the best scenario, because if you've got space to walk around behind it, I would mount it right in the middle behind it. That way you could put the two Y cables and the X and stuff, and you've got plenty of cable for everything, and you could just turn it on from right behind the table. You're never going to go back there because you don't fetch sheets from behind the table, but you still have access in case your gantry's in the front and you need to access certain areas. And all your wires are back there. You're not going to be walking around back there. So, well, that's the best advice I can offer. Sorry about that. Wish I could do better. There's never you'll find that for most of these DIY experiences, there is never a single answer. What is the best place? It's the same answer for any question. What's the best controller? What's the best this? What's the best that? That completely depends on your circumstances, and in combination with a million people's opinions. Because honestly, there's people out there doing the same exact thing with a Gerbil controller, with and spending pennies on the hardware, but spending hours on the Linux and stuff. And then there's other people that are buying a Gecko controller or one from Avid, and they're spending $2,500 on a controller. I mean, and guess what? They both do the same exact thing in the end. They achieve the same purpose. Is one better than the other? I can't tell you that. I don't own them. Is one better made than the other? Oh, yeah, most of the time. But it's kind of a silly question. Well, it's not a silly question, but as far as the quality of certain pieces, some people ask about the quality of, like, your hobby box. Isn't the Lead Shine 4660 a much better controller? Yeah, it's also $300 more. I'd be happy to build you a hobby box with a Lead Shine in it. It'll cost you a hell of a lot more, and it's a better controller. However, I've never had one of these fail. Not the JaviBoxes. I've only been making them for a few months, but I have the same components running for 3 years solid on my machine, and I have the same thing on another machine, and Dave's got similar components on the same on his machine running for 12 years, or I don't remember how long was it. 8 years. But anyway, bottom line is this stuff, it's like a car. You could, no, it's not like a car. That's a bad analogy, because a car, there's always the luxury factor. But in the end, whether it's a Volkswagen or whether it's a Mercedes, they'll both take you where you want to go. Anyway, I will let you guys go. It's the 9:30 o'clock hour. So you guys all have a wonderful evening, and Hope to see you guys on Wednesday. I'll uh, I'll see what's happening on Wednesday. I might be I'll probably be assembling more Javi boxes, but hopefully I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might see if I have time during the week. Sometime I want to see if I have that fireplace video on my other computer. I want to download it. The one up there, I want to download it here so you guys can at least see something nice, in the background. Or maybe I'll show you some time lapse videos of something. I don't know, me tiling a floor or something. Yeah, something more interesting than me soldering while we chat. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and thanks all for dropping by. I greatly appreciate it. And for all you hobby box owners out there, get to carving and film, and send me stuff. Have a wonderful day.